Welcome to Re3 Talks, raw and unedited dialogue with business owners and leadership to talk about business strategy marketing, and also do a live strategy session where we help tackle a challenge that's going on in their marketing world. So I'm Leanne, one of three owners at Re3 Creative, which is a marketing agency in Minneapolis. We love to rethink your position, recreate your presence, and then reconnect you with the world. And today I have the pleasure of interviewing Matt of Ember Coffee. So Matt, would you just give us a quick introduction to who you are?
Yeah, thank you. I really feel honored to be here. So, thanks a lot. So my name is Matt Berry. I am one of the owners of Ember Coffee Company. We're based here in Big Lake, Minnesota. So my wife and I, my wife Elisa is technically the owner of the company, but we work together as a team. We've been open since 2021. And so our operation, we have our coffee shop next door, which we're drinking our coffee here. And then we're filming here in the roastery. So those are sort of the two big areas of our business.
Awesome. I'm super excited about this. Just to give everyone an idea of how we met, I was very loyal to another local roaster in the Twin Cities, and we started following Ember Coffee on Instagram, and immediately got a message, I think it was automated, that said, hey, thanks for following us. Here's a coupon. Go check our website out. And me in marketing, I'm like, oh man, okay, I'm going to bite. Like, this was good. So I clicked on it, went to the website, used my coupon, ordered a few different smaller, like 12 ounce, whatever that is, 10 ounce bags of coffee to try out, and really had a good experience. Matt even reached out and said thank you. I think that might have also been automated, but still good marketing. And then I started ordering my favorite, which is Jefe coffee. I do subscription now. I love it. And then Matt and I were just kind of conversing through an email thread about one of his emails that he sends out to his followers. And he said, hey, why don't you come up and talk about marketing with me? And I was like, absolutely, I love to do that. So here we are today. First episode of Re3 Talks. Super excited. So we're going to just dive in. Today we're going to talk about, first of all, his business, some of his competitors, his goals, and then hash out some strategy for him in something that he's struggling with. So why don't you go ahead and tell us about the company, how it started, what you do, why you do it, who you do it for, some of your core values. Go ahead.
Yeah, okay, wow. So I'm going to do my best to answer that. So you keep me honest,
okay.
And you tell me if I'm missing anything. So we got started very early on, just as a coffee shop.
Sure.
The coffee shop was really born out of a question that we asked ourselves, which was like, my wife articulates it like, how can we bring beauty to the places where we're planted, right? We have this inner conviction that every person is planted in a certain place, and they need to steward that place where they are, whether it's through business, whether it's through creativity. And I think when you're able to combine business and creativity together, that's where I think for us, we sort of get excited about.
Love it.
So we started with the coffee shop, and we created this space, to connect people in our town. One of the things that I like to talk about is I believe every single person has a superpower, right? So our superpower between my wife and I is creating community, right? And creating connections for people. So we started that, and the coffee shop was just a really great fit. We didn't start with roasting at the beginning. We sort of did a crawl, walk, run, and we started roasting maybe a little sooner than we had expected, but that started a couple years ago. And it was really born out of this idea of, I am somebody, I always love to learn. I'm the type of person, I'm always researching and trying to figure out how can I do something better. I'm a type 1 on the Enneagram for people who know the personality profile. So I'm always thinking about what's the next thing. Yes. The reformer, the perfectionist. And so that just translated over to coffee. So we began roasting coffee, and the feedback from the community was super positive. And we thought, well, I think in order for our small business to be sustainable and to, move in the direction of being profitable, we need to sell coffee online. And so that introduced us to a whole nother world, sort of like nowadays when you become a small business owner, you are not only, the CEO, you're chief of marketing, chief of strategy,
yes,
bookkeeper,
all the things,
social media expert, all of that.
Maybe not expert.
No, yeah. Not expert.
You guys are doing well, but I know, starting the business in 2013, like I was doing things I shouldn't have been doing.
Oh, yeah.
So I totally understand.
Yeah.
So core values. What do you guys? So community. We love that. I noticed that as we walked through the coffee shop, you knew people, you talked to people as if, and they probably do come in fairly often.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that you're doing to cultivate community? You mentioned when we were walking through, you had a screen that you sometimes use for events, or what kind of events do you house, or what kind of community outreach do you do?
Yeah, so community still is a big focus for us in the coffee shop, and so we do. We always look for opportunities to host community events. We have Girl Scouts who come and sell cookies in our coffee shop. We have art up on the walls.
Yes.
But as we began moving into the roastery side of things, we began asking, okay, well, how can we carry the sense of community over into an e-commerce store and into an e-commerce brand? So we are on that journey of doing that, and I think for us, one aspect, core values of our coffee roastery and the beans is creating a sense of community. In some of the emails that you've probably seen that we send out, I struggle as a perfectionist. And I know we'll get to this in a minute, but I look at our competitors, and part of my impulse is to want to send out emails and make ourselves look like the big brands out there, right? But there's another sense I feel like in developing community is just being raw and authentic. And so sometimes we've just been reaching out and just literally saying, listen, I am at the end of my day. I have no more energy, and I know I need to send an email. So this is what I'm sending out. This
is how we met, because you sent out an email that kind of said, it's just me, Matt, not some crazy marketing team. Like, this is just me and Raw. And I actually think that's great marketing, because you are, even though you're trying to market to the masses and build an online store, you're still being real, and you're still being you, and you're still connecting one-on-one. We are humans, and we want human connection. So even big brands, they need someone that is willing to do that human-to-human connection, and that's why we see a lot of faces for even big brands. So I think, what you did drew me in to meet with you today and to buy your coffee, and so I think that I think that's important, and I think you're still doing a good job. Even at the end of the day, that's a personal note from you, and I think that's helpful.
Yeah, and I think for us, the big thing is what we do has to be sustainable, and we want to be here for the long haul. Yeah. And I think just the other core value for us, I'm trying to think. Yeah, we have it up on our wall. I don't know if it's in the shot, but it's about demystifying coffee, right? Yes. So, I've been a coffee snob for many, many years, and every coffee shop, every roaster has their own brand, and there's a place in the market for it all. But something, as we have been trying to craft our brand identity, I feel that there are many coffee roasters out there that really focus on, we are the professionals, we know what good coffee is, we are going to educate you. And I think that's good, but where we're trying to carve out our place in the market is to demystify it, because we have a lot of people who come in who enjoy coffee, but they have no idea, like, what is the difference between...
They might drink Folgers at home, maybe.
Yeah, or they're like, hey, this coffee's good, but what's the difference between a light roast and a dark roast?
Sure.
And like, well, how does grind size affect things? And we really want to combine the community aspect with just demystifying coffee and saying, there are no stupid questions. Join with us on this journey of experiencing what good coffee is, and like, you don't need to feel bad about asking questions like that.
I used to think that dark roast had more caffeine.
Yeah.
I don't know why, and this was probably like 10 years ago. It was before I moved to Minnesota. There was this little coffee shop up north, way up north in Wisconsin, and that was I'm like, I never ordered dark roast because I always thought it had more caffeine because I was sensitive to it, and so I was ordering light roast, which is like way worse and way more caffeine. So it's just funny, like, even I loved coffee and I still didn't really know science behind it or really anything about it. So I think that's helpful, because the community loves coffee, they want to know about it, they want it, but they also want to enjoy it, and they don't need to be snobs about it to be here. They are enjoying what you're providing.
Yeah, and I think at the end of the day, anyone can go to Target and buy an expensive bag of coffee, but what we want to do is like take people on a journey with us. You
That's
know,
awesome.
is it cultivate as much of a sense of tribe and community as
I
we
love it.
can, being an e-commerce brand.
Yes, I love it. We're similar. We like the community aspect
Yeah.
as well. So that's probably why we have good vibes going on. Your goals. Where are you thinking you want to be in a year or 3 years or 10 years? Right now you mentioned that you weren't planning on roasting coffee originally,
Yeah.
and that kind of came quicker than you had imagined.
Yeah.
Where do you see yourself kind of in the future?
Yeah, so, I think what's important for me and my wife is just setting realistic goals, right? We don't want to be the next Starbucks.
Sure.
We don't want to be the next, national brand. I think that we just want to carve out our place, even in the Minnesota market, where we can provide great coffee, locally roasted. There's, Minnesota itself is just, it's a massive place in order to build a business.
Yeah.
So I think, our goals initially are to just be, sustainable and, be able to make a consistent profit. And I think for that, what that looks like, it's growing our subscription base online. It's expanding our wholesale network of restaurants, and we sell coffee to offices who are looking for a better coffee experience. And then also just part of my other, aside from coffee roasting, I have another career in cybersecurity and information technology.
Wow. Yeah.
So I'm brushing shoulders with a lot of Fortune 500 companies, and I know a lot of them are looking for a better type of product to offer their customers as marketing material. So it's also expanding that side of the business too. Privately branding coffee and letting these big name brands have their own branded coffee
That's
bags
awesome.
that they can give to people.
That's really cool.
So yeah, lots of places.
Do you think about having another location anywhere in Minnesota as you grow?
Yeah, I've thought about that. I think the interesting thing in starting a business, when we started the roastery, it was truly like starting another business. They are located right next door to one another, but they function very, very differently.
Yes.
So, maybe in the future, opening up another coffee shop would be on the table. But for us right now, our big focus is just growing the roastery side of the business, and expanding that out.
Are you doing anything to start getting towards those goals? Decisions that you're making? You don't have to share decisions you're thinking
Sure.
about, but are you actively trying to seek out that and doing anything to obtain that goal?
Yeah, absolutely. As a
Some
time-
people don't. Some people are like, we'll get there. We're just going to wait it out a little bit. Or sometimes like goals that you have 5 years from now come a lot sooner as well. And so you have to kind of strap down a little bit and get going.
Yeah. I guess the way I would say that we are approaching achieving those goals is sort of like we try a number of different things early on. Developing our wholesale program for restaurants,
Okay.
right? In parallel, doing Facebook advertising, right? Marketing there. In parallel, doing email marketing, right? So, I think one of our advantages and maybe also one of our vices is we try a lot of different things at the beginning, but I'm a big proponent of doing preliminary testing and seeing, okay, which one is showing
Totally.
better
High five.
results.
Good job. That's awesome.
And then we go into
Yes.
that one,
Yes.
right? And then
Absolutely.
you just continue to
That's what
fine-tune
marketing
it.
is, even on a big level. Like, a marketing strategist might have this really great plan that they've spent months planning, but until you launch it and test it, you really don't know if it's going to work.
Yeah.
You have hopes that it's going to work, but marketing is literally trying, testing, optimizing, and then pivoting or pushing into it. One of the two.
For sure.
So-
It's where that famous quote from Mike Tyson comes into play. Everyone has a plan until they get punched in the face.
Nice.
Right? So like I'm a strategist. I've built so many strategies, but then when you start implementing them,
Yes.
it may seem good, and even the
Yes.
textbooks may say that it'll work,
Yes.
but until it's operating in your market, you
Yeah.
just
Totally.
You really don't know.
And working for your audience and in the way that you can do it best, because just because there's a marketing strategy that works for the coffee shop down the street, if it doesn't fit your perfect gifts or your giftings, then it might just not work for you. And so like your email marketing, for example, like a lot of people struggle with email marketing, and you might think you struggle, but you're actually doing a really good job because it's because you're entering that human connection. And so it's not just like a high level, hey, this is Ember Coffee. It's like, hey, here's Matt. It's the end of the day and I'm tired, but I want to really connect with you today. And so I think that is actually a really big win for you. And that's where a lot of people struggle. They don't take the time to send that email out at the end of the day and connect with their audience. So what works for one person might not work for another person. And it really does, especially as an entrepreneur and starting out, you're really leaning into what you can do and what you have time for, and what you're just naturally good at. So I think it's been working for you anyway, from a receiver and a marketer.
That means a lot. That means a lot.
Let's talk about your competitors. So we're not going to name any competitors' names, but driving in, there's a competitor like in the next parking lot that's a pretty big national brand, not national, Midwest brand, I think.
Yeah, sure.
So you definitely have competition right in Big Lake, but also just with the online space, there's lots of different coffee shops, even in Minnesota, that are selling coffee online. So tell me, like, how do you, when you first started, kind of what research did you do? Our audience are business owners that are maybe starting or are established, but they're wanting to grow, and they need to do some of that market research and understand what their competitors are doing. I do want to mention, I don't think that you have to know everything about your competitors to lay out a plan for yourself, but it's important that you know what they're doing so that you're not doing exactly what they're doing, and that you can have differentiation between you and them, because that is what helps build a brand. So kind of curious to know, ongoing research, beginning research, how what do they do well that you feel like maybe is not your forte, and how do you feel like you stand out with them?
Yeah, it's a good question. So I will say a mistake that we made early on is we didn't have a business coach. And so there was a number of things very, very early on that we could have saved ourselves a lot of heartache and a lot of money if we had consulted with a business coach. Sort of after we got started on the journey, fortunately, we're very thankful because of the county that we live in. We gained access to free business coaching from a place that's actually based in Iowa, but it's through a partnership, and they were just tremendously helpful for us. Like, we are here today because of the input that they gave to us. But I think as far as researching competitors, we knew going into this that all of the established brands out there, like the big name brands that are more than just your little niche players, we know that their advantages are they have a tremendous amount of capital and investment, and they can afford to have a crappy product, but just throw tons and tons of money at it. And I think also when you have a, like our competitor, I don't even consider them a true competitor, but the company that's next door to us, they have a model where if one of their stores is failing, they don't care because they have so many other stores and everything just sort of evens out on a given day. So we knew going into it that our competition had much more brand recognition and much more staying power just because of all of the finances that were backing them. But what we knew is that we could make a better product. And going back to superpowers, we knew that we can do community in unlike that place can do community. 100%. And we have people who come in and they ask us these questions about the place next door, and I tell them, listen, I think there's a position in the market for our company and their company to thrive. If you want like stupid fast and you don't care about quality, then go there. And that honestly, that's okay. I've had little kids before, and I know sometimes sometimes I just need a cup of coffee and I can't afford to wait.
Drive through.
Yeah, like I just want it super fast. No problem. But just knowing where we wanted to carve out our place in the market, like we're not going to be the cheapest. We're going to focus on quality over over what they focus on. And I think one last thing, and I'll pause. I follow, not religiously, but I do like the content that Gary Vaynerchuk puts out, or Gary V, he goes by on social media. But he talks about having this mindset of abundance, right? So instead, I think that for a lot of small business owners, and I've interacted with a lot having started this business, there's a tendency to have what I would call like a scarcity mentality, or this poverty mentality of thinking that, you know, another business is coming into town. Oh my word, like
Sure.
they're going to take business away from me. And I've heard people say like a rising tide raises all boats, right? And so Gary Vaynerchuk, he talks about having this mentality of abundance. It's like, at the end of the day, I'm not competing against that place across the street. I'm competing against myself. We're competing against ourselves. So for us to be sustainable, we don't need 1,000 monthly subscribers. Like, hey, how about we shoot for 200 and then let's shoot for 400? You know, like you don't really need, you don't need to go head to head with the big name brands in order to survive.
I think it's important to mention though, like in a small town, especially like in a small town that I lived in, there were 2 coffee shops and one of them didn't last. One of them didn't survive. And I think part of it is building the brand. You know, when you don't put emphasis in building your brand and building the community and building the culture that you want, you don't become a place that people want to be. So I think that in reality, small businesses sometimes don't make it. So that's why it's so important to really, especially in the beginning, really know who you are, know who you want to serve, know what you're about, and then broadcast that and make that known to everybody, because people who have those same values or that same desire for that tribe and that community, they'll be the ones that will show up and continue to be loyal. So I love that a lot. But I want you to also mention, we haven't talked about this yet, about the type of coffee, the air roasted, which is kind of a unique value proposition for you. So tell us about that.
Yeah, so when you look at roasting coffee, the majority of coffee that you drink, it's about 99% of all coffee in the world is roasted sort of the conventional way. And without getting too scientific, I'll try to keep it short. It's hard when you're passionate about it, but traditional coffee roasting, it's called drum roasting, and it roasts the coffee bean based on through conduction, right? So probably the easiest analogy, most people understand the concept of having like a cast iron skillet that you would put on your stove at home, right? You crack an egg, you put it on the skillet. What happens is the heat from the skillet transfers to the egg and cooks the egg, right?
And get stuck on a stove.
Yes. I have learned some tricks about how to fix that, but that's for another interview. So most coffee is roasted that way. With what we do, we air roast. So our method of roasting, it's similar to those old popcorn poppers, depending on, I don't know how old your audience is. At least I remember growing up with this little air popper where you would pour the kernels in and it would spin around, and in the air through convection would pop popcorn, right? So one of the benefits of air roasting is, even though I would say it's probably been around for about 30 or 40 years, one of the benefits of it is you don't get the burnt bitterness or the acidity that you often get in traditionally in drum roasted coffee, and that's simply because there's the coffee bean itself is not coming into contact with any hot surface where it can be scorched. So basically, as that hot air is roasting the bean, it doesn't. It's a lot more difficult for it to get burnt and to get the negative, harsh acidity that you can sometimes find in conventional coffee.
Definitely had bitter coffee that was like, nope, not drinking this for sure. Oh, I love the El Jefe coffee. I tried the Young Lions coffee of yours. I tried a few of them, and I use a Breville at home, so I'm doing the espresso, and like this one is, I drink it every day. It's really, really good. Well, let's talk about marketing. So you've been in business since 2021. You've probably done you mentioned like trying and testing a lot of different marketing things. What do you feel, and I can tell you that I think you're good at email marketing. Maybe not the conventional email marketing, but I hate cookie cutter marketing. Sure. I think doing it the way that works best for your audience is the best way to do it. So thinking about things that you feel that you're good at in the marketing sphere, building a brand, email marketing, tell us about what you feel are your personal strengths to contribute to your brand's marketing as well as just as a company.
Well, I think our strength is we are constantly tweaking. That's
your number one, your type one.
And trying new things. That's also a weakness for us because I think sometimes you can get spread across so many different areas that you don't have enough data to really know what's working and what's not.
Yeah, you're throwing spaghetti at the wall is what we call it in marketing.
Exactly. I feel like what we do a good job of is I think on the email marketing, I'm happy with where we are. Of course, being a type 1, I always think that we should be doing more, should be sending more emails and all of that. But I think I'm really happy with the email marketing. We've also been working with a company on our Facebook advertising, and I'm happy with where that's headed. But I mean, with that, it's like a black box of trying to figure out with the algorithms what is going to show up correctly. You have different ad types, and I think for us, we realized early on that there were some things that we felt comfortable doing ourselves and like teaching ourselves, like the email marketing, and there was other things that we said we need help, and so we need to reach out and get some advice.
With the email marketing, how many replies do you get to your emails, or how does that work? If you're, a lot of times we get emails in our inbox and we don't actually reply, we just read them. Do you watch your open rates and your click rates and all that, or are you just happy with the process of what you're doing? I
mean, we're a small team, right? So like one day
I
would love to be able to pay somebody to just sit there and look at dashboards and pull insights for me. But
once a month, I could do it for you once a month. If you at least know, we should, because at least if you know where, like what your efforts are actually, what the return on them is, that's what's important, is just knowing, is my effort actually doing something? Yeah, that's really good. And we should talk. I think that I have implemented some strategies to get more replies from people. I think that even in like the emails that I've sent about. This is Matt, and like, I'm busy, and this is the latest. I'll put things in at the bottom of like, hey, like if you reply to this and give me a suggestion, I'll throw you a coupon. Just like, that's fun.
Just reply to my email.
That's fun,
right? So like, while I may not be constantly looking at dashboards to give me metrics, it's also encouraging to like get these emails in my inbox.
Well, that's what you want.
Well, and I think it improves your delivery rates too, because they're replying to your emails.
Yep. So. And I think that's helpful. Like a lot of automated emails, we know they're automated. We know that you're not actually writing them, and it's kind of like, am I going to spend time replying to something that's automated or whatever? So, obviously, marketing and email marketing is somewhat automated. You might write an email yesterday and send it out, or even last week, but just to have you write it yourself, I think is really, really helpful. Struggling, what are you struggling with marketing? Where are you today? We're going to hash out something together. Curious to know. You can mention a few things, what you're struggling with, and then what you'd like me to help you out with today.
I think the biggest struggle that we have is figuring out what should we be prioritizing when it comes to our marketing efforts. Like what gives us the biggest ROI, because we're not like the big chains that can throw these massive budgets at stuff. So I think it's understanding what gives us the best bang for our buck, and I think it's also trying to figure out like what areas of the marketing world are easier, like based on my skill set, what things are easier for me to enter into and just sort of figure out on my own versus like what are the ones that it's really a better idea, like you're going to save money in the long run by working with a professional versus just throwing money at
well, let's talk about some of those things. So I'm kind of curious to know, what are you currently, tell me what you're all doing right now.
So we have our email marketing. We also have, I'm just going to focus on the roastery side of things. So we have our email marketing. We use Klaviyo, which I have just really loved using that tool as I've learned it more. We do marketing through social media, just like organic posts and reels. And with that, we've had some learning along the way. It's like trying to figure out what type of content do we post, what kind of captions, what kind of hashtags,
strategy, all that
and
stuff.
That's still a little bit of a black box for us. So we're sort of in a transition period, like a scratching our head period with that. We actually have a fantastic barista she's in Gen Z, and so she's been creating reels for us.
That's awesome.
Which is great because apparently I'm too old now to make things that are viewable or clickable.
Yeah.
And then we have been doing Facebook advertising. Let's see what else. You know what? We recently tried doing postcards more for the coffee shop side, and I have to say, like, I was really disappointed in the ROI of that.
Interesting.
But I think one of the difficulties is, like, I can go to any of those different sources and I can look at metrics for each of them, but I sometimes wonder, like, can I actually trust the metrics that they're displaying? And then, like, how do I compare the metrics of, like, my email marketing to my social media to see, like, how they actually compare and how they actually end up driving sales? I think some tools out there are really good at showing how the marketing efforts drive sales, but others it's a little bit more difficult to see, like, is this just providing me, like, brand awareness versus driving sales, and tracking all of that. It's really hard.
Brand awareness is really important in the long term. So even if you're posting and creating brand awareness, 5 years from now, you're going to see the growth. 2 years from now, you're going to see the growth from that. So, like, I feel like brand recognition and that's, a lot of people are like, oh, it doesn't matter. It really does matter and will bring long-term growth for you. A lot of the tactics that we do here and now are some of them are very short-term, like a reel. You know what I'm saying? And some of that does also build brand awareness, but some of the long-term things that take a little bit more work and a little bit more thought are definitely, like, long-term growth.
Sure.
My question for you concerning all of those things is, what is if you had to pick one lane of your business, so the online sales, distribution or wholesale distribution to businesses, you mentioned offices and stuff, carrying your coffee versus the coffee shop, which lane are you really trying to grow most right now? Like, if we had to focus on one of those lanes.
Yeah, I would say up until today, probably our biggest area of focus has been building our e-commerce.
And without mentioning numbers specific, how do you feel that's doing right now?
Yeah, I guess I'm happy with the progress. I think I'm wrestling with, did I go into it with unrealistic expectations? Or is it one of those things where, even though maybe it doesn't feel like you're making money in the short term, you're making money in the long term, So I would say, I think that's the struggle.
So what efforts are you doing right now? So when you say Facebook ads, are you doing Facebook ads for the online sales, or is that your focus for your any email marketing? Are you doing any email marketing right now for online sales, or are you,
sure.
Where you're focused with the things that you're currently doing?
Yeah, so I would say our focus is paid advertising for social media for those ads, so like the meta ads. We are also doing email marketing. Typically about, like, once a week, we send emails out to sort of our growing list of our email list, which is
online. So the email list would be mostly online sale order customers?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. So yeah, my question is, like, definitely, like, more formulated towards the online sales.
Yes.
Like, are you focusing on that when you write an email, when you do a social media post? I think the community aspect on your social media is super important to show what you do here. But there's a lot of people outside of Big Lake that want to buy from you and aren't going to drive all the way here to drink your coffee in your shop.
Yeah.
So curious about just efforts that you have towards online sales. And building that through your email marketing, through your Facebook ads. So your Facebook ads are geared towards the online sales?
Yeah,
okay,
correct. Great. So yeah, I guess I should clarify. So we've reached a point where we're really happy with, where the growth of the coffee shop side of the business, but we are also aware that there's a certain ceiling that we're eventually going to hit with the with the coffee shop. Like there are only so many people who live in our area.
Yeah.
You know, somebody's probably not going to drive 60 mile. I mean, we've gotten some because last year we won Minnesota's best.
Yes, I wanted to mention that earlier.
Yeah. So we won.
And you're in nomination right now too, right?
Yes.
That's awesome.
So yeah, we won gold last year for coffee and coffee shop.
That's awesome.
So we do get some people, but it's likely we're not going to get like repeat, people coming in like regulars from like Richfield, right? So a lot, I would say the majority of our marketing efforts have shifted to just the online sales. And so what we found in doing that is even people local will still buy coffee from us through the e-commerce. But then we're also, our big focus is people who may not have even come into our shop, or maybe they passed through and they bought some coffee from us, in the coffee shop side. Well, we're going to go and, follow up with them and try to advertise our coffee bags and Keurig cups.
Yeah, and curious to know, with networking, we find that with our customers as well as ourselves, just networking and getting our name out there, getting ourselves out there, especially at you being a type 1 and also interactive and relational, being a part of networking events and groups and sponsorships and different things like that, and allowing people to, because a lot of people don't even know who you are.
Yeah.
So, and that also plays into Facebook ads as well. And I don't know what your current Facebook ad strategy is, but when we do Facebook ad strategy, we do a 3-tiered strategy. So you have a set of ads that's going out to people who don't even know that they need good coffee. What the difference of that is, kind of like an educational ad. And then the second one would be to a warm audience, like, I drink lots of coffee. You might be targeting your competitors' audiences. And then the third one is like, they know who you are. They bought from you before. Now you're offering them a deal online. So like that whole aspect of, with networking, people don't even know that they might want good coffee. You sponsor a networking event with your coffee, they drink it. Wow, this is great. Now you have 100 people that just drank your coffee, and you offer them some sort of coupon to go buy their first thing, and then you hook them in like you did with me, and now they're subscribers. Curious to know if you've thought about networking and doing anything like that.
Yeah, I mean, I've thought about it. I would say it's probably one of those things that we haven't really implemented well or put a lot of energy behind. We do a lot in our community to support local, local raffles, local fundraisers, and we donate just our product just because we want to support the community. But I think that in those situations we've already sort of saturated the local area. Like a lot of people around here already know who we are. So I think that could be a growth area for us. Yeah,
I think networking would be really helpful. I recommend networking to a lot of businesses because it's a really good way of getting your name known to people outside of your local area. So, that would be a focus for you. I would say that's inexpensive. There are lots of free events like B&I groups even and different things like that. Or, we're part of a couple different networking events that have a small, membership fee every year, but you're getting in front of a lot of people. And typically networking events, if you're a part of one, they're also very loyal to the people within the group. So that would be a great way to get your name known to further, like, somewhere, other places in the Twin Cities, that aren't going to drive this way to grow your online business. So that would be one easier, commit to one networking event a month. And so something we do, not to plug our services in, but we actually help our clients find networking events that would be specific for their business that we think that they could be good in and grow from and get clients from. And so just taking time every month to like research what's going on. And as I mentioned, there's lots of free events, and I don't know how much it costs to provide coffee for a networking event, but I imagine it's not like a super big expense. So, I mean, then people are actually experiencing, your coffee. And thinking about just like marketing as a whole, there's lots of different ways that you can market yourself, right? You can market yourself with brand loyalty. So people who are already subscribing to you and providing, the coupon that I got after I ordered my first coffee, I was offered a subscribe and save discount. And I was like, well, yes. And I got my neighbors order your coffee as well. Because I was like, you guys, there's this great offer. You need to get on now and go order coffee. And so like, there's this loyalty program that can really be helpful to people who are already loyal and already loving it. And that way they're speaking love for you, and you don't really have to do anything but provide kind of the channel for them to do that. And then there's also like experience things, like how are you making the experience of buying coffee from you different? I love the little note that you guys add in your box. That's great presentation. Something we do with our business growth evaluations is just that. Like, what is someone else doing when they ship coffee? Do they have a little note in there? Do they add the stickers in the box? Do they, make the experience of receiving the coffee good or even locally? And then like Facebook and like ads and social media and all that, what's entertaining? You have a business that you can be fun and entertaining, not educational necessarily or authoritative. So you can have a little more fun with that, where that's helpful for watching reels.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of curious with, what you currently are doing, and what you feel that you're really good at. You mentioned that you're comfortable with email marketing.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds like Facebook ads, I think you took them over recently, or you're still using another company for that?
No, for the Facebook ads, we're still partnering with another company to do that. It's the like the posts, the like
writing of the posts,
the organic, content that we're putting out aside from the paid promotion, just the normal, the day-to-day. It's for me, I'm creative in strategy, but I'm not creative in photos and content. Like, I would love to just give that away to somebody, but also part of the challenge that I found is, there are a lot of services online that will promote themselves as like, hey, we'll do your content for you for like, stupid cheap, right? And I've learned, like, you get what you pay for. Like,
definitely.
It's, so it's a challenge of like knowing we have, limited marketing budget. And it's like, how do we, where are we going to get the best bang for our buck?
Yes. And I think social media is hard because you are building culture here.
Yeah.
So I think like you could even split your efforts between someone that's actually here and taking pictures and doing video and, using the community space to elevate the community tribe like culture that you're building here.
Yeah.
And then also have like, the fact, kind of your unique value proposition of like demystifying coffee for people. Like, you could go into that as a content structure for some of your social, because you're then educating people online and like, hey, I didn't know that.
Sure.
I'm going to try their coffee.
Yeah.
Talk about this, tell the story behind the different coffees. Your dad being kind of the picture
El
on
Jefe.
Yeah. I mean, people enter into story. That's
Sure.
what we as humans want to see behind the curtain. We want to understand the reasoning, especially in the online world right now where everybody has something to say about themselves and about what they do. It's also good to kind of be a little bit more relaxed and not push yourself out there, but just talk about what it is, like the coffee and the stories behind the coffee and the names, how you came up with the name. Bring people into that story and say, hey, we're looking for a name for our next coffee. And like,
that's a great idea.
Bring people into that, because people want to be a part of something. Humans are created for connection and love to be a part of things, belong. And so, bringing that tribe closer and saying, hey, we're looking for this. And or when you come in, would you, take a picture? We'd love to have you tag us and help other people, invite people to promote what they're drinking and why they're drinking it, on your social channels.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, I think it's fun. I think you have a great environment to be doing some of that stuff for sure. One of the things with social that's really important is also engaging. So posts can actually, I would say, there's definitely a strategy when it comes to content. But you see brands like really posting crappy content and still doing well. And we believe that the engagement part is 75%, 85% of growth on social. So we used to, as a company, do just posting and creating the content for clients, and they really weren't growing. So in the last year, we've kind of pivoted to make our social media services include engagement. So something that someone here could even do, or partner with a company, is to do the engagement where you're actually building that brand growth and building that brand recognition. So something that we do is that we are actually engaging with people that drink coffee from a competitor or local, that we know they like coffee because they follow coffee shops, but we're allowing them to say, hey, I didn't know this company was there. I better try their coffee.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Yeah, so similar to kind of the message that you sent me because I followed you,
yeah,
we do that with getting new people to know who you are.
Okay.
So that's just something that you could look into. Today's conversation is not so that you're like, oh yeah, I want to work with you. But just to give you some insight as to like what is possible. The engagement is really what will help grow your brand recognition and
Okay.
reach online for sure.
Okay.
Kind of wondering about what's the quickest gain, right? We want to, you're mentioning your struggle is like, I know all these things exist. What am I going to get the best return?
Yeah.
And I think that ads, if done properly, is for you. I think that you need to build more brand recognition, because once people know who you are and what you do and your UVP of this air roasted coffee, they're going to want to try it.
Yeah.
I was very loyal, like 3 years loyal to a local roaster. I never thought I was going to switch.
Sure.
The air roasting really caught my attention. The way that you interacted with me through social was very compelling. And so I think you just need to have more people know that you exist.
Yeah.
And ads are a great way to do that. Social and ads. Social can really get a lot of reach if it's done properly through strategy. But ads, if they're done properly, can really get in front of your audience. And what I love about ads is you really get to choose how much you're spending.
Right.
So you can say, okay, this month I would say $500 minimum a month is a pretty base number.
Yeah.
Typically, the more you spend, the more people you have. So we run ads for lots of clients, and we have a couple that when we upped his budget, like by $1,000, we saw a significant increase in calling and messaging to his account.
Sure.
So, and if you're focusing on the online space, to be able to offer a compelling offer.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard of a remarkable or irresistible offer? Have you ever heard of that sort of language?
Yeah.
Creating that, think about what offer could I put out there of people who might be drinking another high-end, better coffee, quality coffee, that's going to make them say, yes, I want to try this.
Sure, okay.
You're just asking them to commit to one bag.
Yeah.
Because that one bag that they buy is going to turn into more loyalty and more purchasing.
Sure.
What are your thoughts about that?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's you're giving me, like, I'm trying to exercise all my mental energy to keep a list of all these things.
I'm gonna email you. So I'm gonna email you.
I appreciate it.
With kind of like a follow up of today, because I think my mind also after today will go into superpower mode, where I'm just gonna be like, okay, I'll be able to put a framework together for you so that you can have some actionable items. I would love to see your Facebook ads and just see. I've never seen one. I would love to see kind of what they're doing and what their call to actions are, because I think a lot of small businesses especially, will just say, oh, I'm doing Facebook ads, and they'll put $50 whatever a week or something, or they'll write the ad themselves. Their audience won't be defined. They're not creating a compelling offer, and all of those things really matter to get your social media ads. So I really think that if you're just writing content on your social, I think that could probably be second. I think your first focus should be Facebook and Instagram ads, and really getting your name and reach out there. I think that would be, and again, I like that you can kind of choose how much you're going to spend.
That's good.
You can start off small, and if you're like, we need to ramp this up, you ramp it up, and if you get busy, you can bring it down. Yeah. Whereas you hire someone to do social, it's kind of like doing it well, can be an investment. And so I think I would start there and really market towards the people who currently drink coffee, but don't know you exist. Educate people. One of your ads should be a video, you talking. Yeah. You and your wife standing side by side. Maybe your kids in the picture as well, because people love family and children and that sort of thing. And so bringing that into kind of your story, educating about the difference between, I get so excited about all these things. Bringing people into your story, your family story, that people want to support that as well. And then talking about the air roasting versus the drum roll roasting. Yeah. So that would be your first ad, would be the educational part. The second ad that would retarget, if they didn't click there, the next one would be an offer specifically for a bag of coffee. Now we're talking also to people who might have already bought coffee, been here, might be on your email list. And then your third ad would be retargeting people who visited your website but maybe didn't put in an order. Sure. An extra little, I saw you looking, here's an extra 10% off or something like that. So I'm excited for you.
I love it. This is great.
I will definitely send you a framework with that. I'm excited to see how that kind of plays out. Yeah. Do you have questions for me about any of this?
Oh boy. I guess maybe, you've been giving me like a ton of advice here. So I would be curious to know, like, where do you often see people fail when it comes to marketing? Like big...
Not spending enough money. Okay. I know that's what I mean by that is So ads, for instance, they'll try to do it themselves.
Yep.
And ads, I understand why people think they can do it themselves, and you might get a little bit of return doing it yourself. But when it's done right, you're going to get a big return.
Sure.
So spending the money to have someone do it properly is going to bring you a bigger return than if you tried to do it yourself. Kind of what you were saying before, where I know that there's things I could do myself. You can post by yourself. You can take reels by yourself. Yes, you could hire a professional, but is it going to make that much of a difference? In your industry, I'm going to say probably not.
Sure.
In some businesses where they don't have someone in-house, that it's not a fun environment, things have to be serious, authoritative, I would say those probably need to be done professionally and better quality. But I think people also not spending enough, not seeing that marketing is actually a really brilliant thing. Marketing is not putting a logo on a pen or a logo on a cup. It's actually connecting with your audience in the best way possible, where they feel compelled to be loyal and buy from you.
Sure.
And that's it's actually amazing. It's a brilliant thing. So learning how to do that in a way that's true to your brand and true to your audience is where the sparks fly.
Sure.
And so I would say with ads specifically, things that we see is just people trying to do it themselves and then be like, screw ads. I don't want to spend money on ads because they don't work. Well, it's because you did it yourself. You didn't have a strategy, and you didn't spend enough money on them. So when we do ad strategy, we really, I personally do the ad strategy, and I take a lot of time to craft what that strategy looks like. Yeah. And then another thing is, like we talked about before, throwing spaghetti at the wall, just trying something. We try something. We try several different things, and then we take what's working and optimize it until it works better, and then we optimize it again until it works even better. And so I think that's just part of a professional doing it as well, is the testing and the optimizing until you see the results you want, because it's possible to get the results you want if it's done well and if it's done in like a strategical, optimizing, tactical sort of way.
Sure. So maybe a follow-up question to that, and I know the answer is typically it depends.
Sure.
From my other background, it's like the typical consultant answer.
Sure.
But when a person invests in a paid advertising strategy, let's say around social, how long do you feel like it really takes before you can know if something is working?
That's a good question.
Because as a business owner, they're thinking, okay, there's going to be an ads management fee, there's my ads budget, and they're thinking, okay, how long can I invest in this before I can start to see like a return on it?
So if you've been running ads for a while, and let's say you were running ads by yourself and then you decide to hire professionals, Facebook has some data of who your audience is.
Sure.
Facebook knows who likes your post, who follows your account, so they kind of have an idea. So the first thing that we suggest is to actually boost current posts as the first set of ads to kind of test that and to help Facebook understand your audience and get more data.
Sure.
Once that audience is established, then we would start doing like an ad strategy that's outside of like your regular posts.
Sure.
And I would say you should see results right away. The results you want, I would say 3 to 6 months. So because it takes Facebook a while to understand, it takes even strategists, like we have an initial strategy, but over time, as we see the data, as we see the people that are responding, are these really the ideal audiences?
Yeah.
Is this, yes, we're saying it's people who are drinking coffee, but are they willing to spend $5 on a cup of coffee or whatever, right? So just honing in on that can take, I would say, up to 6 months.
Okay.
So even at the beginning, when we do an ad strategy, the budget for that should be pretty small at first, because we want to just test out who's clicking, what's working, is this getting to the audience that we want?
Sure.
And then over time, increasing that as the ads become more successful.
Sure.
We don't want to throw money into something that's not successful.
Yeah.
So as the ads become more successful and you're getting more engagement and more response, then you start increasing the cost at which the ads are spent.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Does that
great.
help?
Yeah.
Okay.
I want to ask you some more questions off camera.
Okay. Wonderful. Is there anything else you want the world to know about Ember Coffee?
Oh, boy. Boy, I feel like we've shared so much.
Yeah.
But, I think that, a big piece of, we talked about we're convinced that we have a better product than, a lot of the big name brands. We're meticulous and obsessive over those things, I think the other bit, and we try not to make this like the core area of our messaging, but going back to what we had said earlier about, my wife says about bringing beauty, to where you're planted. one of the things that we feel really strong about is leveraging our business, not just for profit, but for doing good. And I think that, you see that in a lot of different brands where they donate, a portion of their profits to, it might be veterans
animal shelter,
animal shelter, whatever. I think for us, one thing that's really important is just the sort of the global fight against human trafficking.
Yes.
So we are relationally connected with a number of people, boots on the ground in India and Ukraine and even here in the U.S. who are, daily they are giving their lives to rescue people who are being trafficked, exploited, abused. So, going back to our big why, we're about tribe and community. We're about demystifying coffee, but like at the end of the day, like we want our business to be fueling something that makes a difference in the world. So yeah, I guess that's what I would let people know about. Like we have one of our blends, our Deliverance blend, that a portion of I think it's $2 of every bag we donate into these organizations, and I think it's a way for us to know that we are supporting, we're doing good, and taking something that we're passionate about and giving other people the opportunity to enter into that, because they may not know what organization do I fund, where is the need. And I think that as people are, I think consumers are now looking for more reasons to buy a product, and when they see that this is a great product, and
they're giving back,
I'm like helping the community by doing it. It's like an easy way to enter into that.
I love that you are supporting that as well, because I feel like the dog rescue, like a lot of people are doing things like that, and human trafficking is global, and it's a huge issue in the world. I was almost crying as you were explaining it. I watched a movie recently that came out about human trafficking, and it was just really eye-opening and emotional. Thank you so much for being here today. Actually, thank you for inviting me here today.
Oh, for sure.
And being vulnerable about your business and opening up about your marketing struggles.
Yeah.
I'm really thankful for that. If you want to visit Ember Coffee, they're in Big Lake, Minnesota, or you can visit them online, embercoffee.co. Thanks so much for joining us.